And we are live.
Welcome, everyone, to the Reseller Roundtable podcast. Also streaming live on YouTube tonight. I am back. It's been a couple of weeks. This is Brian, Texas Treasures, and we have the one, the only Alton, addicted to hustle, the whatnot man. We have Scott, the Benz hunter of California, and Mike, the electronic maestro, and gets his seems like he gets his fingers in everything.
He really
Um,
does.
he really does. It's impressive. Tonight we're talking garage sales. We're late March. Spring is in the air, depending on where you're at. I know around here in Texas, they're starting to finally pop up. And as resellers, garage sales are some of the best sourcing opportunities I believe that you can find. Most most people that are hosting garage sales. I mean, if you think about it, we live in America, the wealthiest nation in the world. We're very consumeristic, and most people have more stuff than they can even store. If you look at all the storage units everywhere, it's just overflowing with our nation's stuff. And so, one of the ways people try to offload their extra stuff to buy more stuff is through garage sales. And the beauty of garage sales is most people, they're not trying to get top dollar. They just want it gone. A lot of times they're selling things that they don't know the value of. And as a reseller, you really have the opportunity to 10x, 20x your money. And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight: garage sales strategies, what you can source, strategy, how you should act at garage sales, etc. So that's what we're chatting about tonight. Anybody got any initial thoughts or topics we want to touch on first?
I have an initial thought. You guys didn't tell me it was cap night. Was the only one without a cap?
Cowboys,
Oh.
brand new.
Hey, you know what though? I'm gonna be fair and honest. I wear a hat every night.
Cowboys vintage.
Hey, I found that vintage as soon as I was telling Brian about the way that, just a fun little fact of, in the '90s, the reason behind the green underbill, there was three tones that you look for in vintage back then. It was the gray, like that really deep gray. There was the green, the vintage, like Brian's wearing now. If you don't understand it, it's that. What color would that be more of? I can't. It's not like a deep forest green, but it's pretty deep, but it's still got a vibrant touch to it. And they also did black with black on stitching because they were trying to get it to where anything reflective, if it was below you, it wouldn't reflect up into your cap and blind you off the reflection. So that's the reason why the thought was back then to do it that way, which I thought was pretty neat. So
For baseball players.
yep.
And baseball season starting soon too.
I'm ready for that.
Yep, me too.
I'll be at the Durham Bulls Stadium, kick back. I'm ready. I'm ready to rock.
Which that's another niche. Like we can maybe talk about another night is like baseball gears. There's a lot of money in that.
There really is. If you know what to look for, certain brands do pull a lot more commanding money, whether it's in baseball bats or gloves. So that's a good topic to pull up later for sure. I'm about to write that down.
Well, I guess starting with garage sales, I guess the first thing is, has it started where y'all are at? I'm in Texas. I think it's just beginning. Last Saturday, there were quite a few. I wasn't able to make it out. I was doing family stuff, but this Saturday, I'm thinking about venturing out. And for me, like I have niched down into clothing, and I'm really trying to stay focused on that. If I find, like, if I'm at a garage sale and I find a small item that I know is worth money, I will pick it up. But I'm 99% clothing right now. But with that being said, man, you can find a lot of clothing at garage sales, usually really cheap. Have garage sales started where you're at yet, Scott?
Yeah, garage sale season has kicked off. Last weekend was only a couple that was raining out here in sunny Sacramento. So last weekend was a little bit of a dud, but the last couple weekends before that, me and my wife Taylor, we went out for a bunch of yard sales and had a great time and found some really cool stuff. It's, sometimes you got different people when you go up to garage sales. You have the people that want full retail for their price here in California, and then there's people that want to get rid of their stuff. So and I run into both. So it's knowing how to deal with those people and knowing how to see what they're wanting and see what they want to get rid of. But there's definitely year round. Usually we could find at least a bunch of garage sales, like a half dozen at least, to go through. And March, going into April here next weekend, is huge garage sale season. That's when the community sales comes out and all that stuff. So really getting excited about that.
For me, garage sale season is 365.
Well, you're lucky enough to be down there in the great state of Florida.
Yeah, so that's inevitable every weekend. Not as many during like the Christmas season and stuff, but they're still out there.
Right.
I went to one that was Christmas Eve.
So in your area,
a little pop-up garage sale. Well, here I am.
So in your area versus winter, to kind of give people a gauge, how many would you get if you opened up some kind of app? How many would you get roughly during the winter versus your average during the summer?
See, it's hard here because in the summer we draw back a little bit because it gets so hot.
Right.
So there's not, what I'm saying? It's like, I would say from September to like May is like prime time, with a little drop off between maybe December and like middle of February. But then from like July and August, it's like, it's so brutal that people don't want to stand out in front of the house for 8 hours, So they're still out there, don't get me wrong. They just die off a lot at that time.
Yeah, I have a question. Do you guys have one of those long, like highway whatever garage sales where they just line up along the highway? Because we don't have those out here. So
yeah, we have one of those here. It's the Highway 301 yard sale. They call it the endless yard sale here, and we have a good time with it. Me and my father, we do that every year. They brought it back last year. Hopefully this year will be a big hit, finally after COVID. But it's interesting to see. It's like everybody comes to the street, to the same road to bring their junk. You just stay on that road, and we go for, it's 100 miles that we do ours. It's crazy, but it's worth it. Oh, someone got a sale or a message one.
The other thing is that scouring like Facebook Marketplace for past garage sales, like a week or two old, I like to hit those people up and say, hey, do you still, if they have pictures? Like I had a guy had a ton of NASCAR stuff on a table, which NASCAR moves too slow for me. I don't like getting too deep into it. But, to hit them up and say, hey, do you still have a majority of this left? And if you do, how much you want for it? It's an easy way to source, really, because the picture's right there in front of you. You know what they have. And, if they didn't sell it, they might be more apt to lower the prices they were asking at the garage sale and give you a break on if you buy in bulk. So I like to do that too.
So let me ask a question. Do you guys message the people before the garage sale if you see something you like, or do you try to, do you try to get there first? What's the strategy for you guys?
I think that would play for me on the item. If it's something that I was really worried about, if I knew, hey, it was worth X amount, I'm going to literally go after it, message them, hey, I'm interested in this. What do you want? Let's make a deal. Try to see if they're willing to make the deal ahead of time. But if it just looks like stuff that, hey, this looks like a good yard sale, but there's nothing really specific, hey, even say, hey, are you accepting early birds? Or, just checking in, seeing what's the earliest we can come. Or I know some people don't like that early bird, and it's better sometimes just to check in, So to me, it's nice either way.
Yeah,
because you get that engagement.
I would be hesitant prior. Because if you give them a clue in that you're interested in it, that means they can look at it the other way and start saying, well, it's got to be worth something. So for me, I wouldn't do that. I would be on the other side of it or go there. If I saw something really good, try and be there as early as possible that opening day. Because the honest part about it is, around here, for me at least, because I focus in on a few items I'm looking for all the time, they're usually there because people don't want to pick up a reel. They don't want to pick up a 100-pound stereo.
That is true.
So I don't have a lot of competition in the area that's going to jump in front of me and buy that Sansui that's sitting on the shelf. But I also have access early to a lot of estate sales, so that gives me a bigger advantage. But I have to get in there prior to them posting pictures. Once the pictures are posted, I can't take that stuff.
Right. So. And Brian, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I never message ahead. I try to create a route, like there's an app called Circuit where you can put all your stops in, and then it'll calculate the best route for you. And I try to get at the first one. Usually like the first ones will start at 7 here, so I'll be at the first one at 7. And because I'm niched down to clothes, clothes aren't the hottest things at garage sales, to be honest. So
Right.
I'm looking at jeans, I'm looking at shirts, and a lot of times they're like $1, $2, 50 cents. And like I was thinking about this week, because I've also been hitting, like, what was it, Tuesday we have 2 bins within driving distance of me, so I hit both of them, and I sourced almost 200 pounds of clothing in 3 hours, including drive time. And my average cost, I think it came, because I calculated, it was like $1.70 something a pound for 200 pounds. So that was a pretty good haul. But with garage sales, like I showed y'all a couple of weeks ago, some of those jerseys I came across. The good thing about garage sales, even for clothes, is that you will get more, like, what we call gold level items, that people don't know what they're worth, either for clothing. And you can sometimes get jerseys. I found vintage clothing there. And sometimes, like, if you'll find somebody, like maybe they have a whole bunch of Harley Davidson, or I went to a garage sale in the fall, and this lady, her husband worked for Tommy Bahama, and so she had a whole giant rack of Tommy Bahama silk shirts that were his. And some of these were like really unique, really old pieces, because he worked there. And this is kind of like one of the techniques is I think she was asking $4 or $5 each. And I'm like, what could you do if I buy all of these? And there was probably like 50 shirts. She goes, if you buy them all, I can do 4. I'm like, well, like, if I buy them all, you're not going to have to worry about these anymore. If you'll do 3, we got a deal. She did it, so I picked up all those Tommy Bahamas, and they've been selling between 20 to 50 all year long. So I guess the beauty of garage sales is the things you're more likely to find home runs at a garage sale versus a thrift store, because there's less competition also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Garage sales are typically by people in that area, so you're gonna get a lot fewer people walking there versus a Goodwill where there's a lot more foot traffic. So those are kind of my strategy pieces. And like I said, I will still pick up non-clothing items if it makes sense. Like, I won't pick up the big electronics anymore, because I'm all about speed and efficiency now. Like today, I got 40 items listed by 3 p.m. after shipping, so I'm getting faster. And my goal is to get up to 50, 60, 70 items listed a day. And if I'm pulling in an average of even $10 profit, I mean, I could be making $1,000 a day, which for used clothing is really good. So I'm sorry, I kind of rambled there about.
Well, I do have a question about your 200 pounds on clothing, because I know, kind of like me dealing in hats by the pound. What is your average, like, I know you said you buy cost per, but how many pieces for that 200 pounds are you roughly getting?
Well, like, I went to one. All right, so one of the bins, it's 109 per pound. And that one, it's funny. I was telling Clay, because he sources for me, or he used to. And that one mostly has shirts. So there, for a pound, I can get 2 or 3 shirts per pound on average. And there, I'll find some jeans and some pants and shorts and a jacket or 2 there. But it's probably like 60% shirts there. I go to the other bins, it's $1.69 per pound, but there it's probably 60, 70% jeans. And so at that place, I'm picking up jeans. So they're coming out to like, $2.50 per pair on average there. But when you put them both together, I end up with a lot of shirts. I end up with a lot of jeans. I end up with a few jackets. Like, I pulled several vintage pieces, like a Waterloo. I guess it's a Canadian football team. I don't know, a couple of vintage pieces. So yeah, but when I averaged them both together, I think it was 166 pieces for like $290. So it was a little bit under $2 per item.
I know me and Dalton always talk about buy cost, going back and forth and seeing how many.
Because And
That's what we get. But when you throw in a bunch of other stuff, a little hard goods, it's a little bit harder. But that's pretty good that you know. You probably do source cheaper at the bins than you do garage sales. Then if you're picking up things for $2-3 or whatever it is, right?
Well, probably per item, but not quality of item.
Well, yeah,
and I wouldn't even say per item. Like garage sales down here, most of the ones I hit up are like $1 a piece or cheaper. Like, I mean, like what Scott was talking about, some people want too much, but I don't waste time. Like if they're asking exorbitant prices, I'm just moving on because there's too many garage sales. I'm finding the ones that they want to move them, and then my cost of goods is probably about $1 per item. Now, I can spend 4 hours, and I may hit 150 items since I'm mostly doing clothing. But a typical 4-hour shift of garage sales for me is probably between 50 to 100 items. But I do have more of those gold items sprinkled in, jerseys and leather jackets, things like that.
Hey, Brian, did I show you this one? I don't know if I showed it last time. Did I show you this?
Nope.
I didn't see that one.
Well, you've been gone 2 weeks.
I know. I'm MIA. You got a 7-Up?
Oh, I like that.
Is that Pearl Snap?
Diet 7-Up, RC.
That is
what brand is it?
Back.
Oh, I like the back. Yeah. There's the gold right there.
7-Up. And
That's
this is good. You guys can talk. I'll tell you the name in a second.
No, we're too busy watching. We're just gonna cut this out. Yeah,
Mike's always bringing up something interesting.
Unitog, UNITOG. It's definitely vintage. Look at this tag. If I can hold it and.
Oh wow,
nice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, made in USA. Looks like.
And then the Diet 7-Up.
So the good thing about that is, like, you're getting two different brands. Well, you got three things working. It's vintage,
RC.
You've got RC. You've got 7-Up. So you've got three things working for you.
So,
it's amazing the people that collect the RC stuff.
It's like, I listed it for $79.99. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
There you go.
It's not like I can comp it.
No, that's one of the ones that if you can't comp it, go ahead and price it a little higher than you think, and then let someone either make an offer or maybe they'll buy it. You know.
Well, that was like
it was like $40. I'd take it and move it on out.
Yep.
Like at that last storage unit I did, where I said I'm never doing one again. But I had a lot of clothes in there, and there was a vintage Czechoslovakian T-shirt in there. And we have a town probably about 20 miles from us. It's Ennis, and it's like the kind of like they have a Czech festival every spring. And so, and it was a vintage T-shirt, but I couldn't find one like it for anything on eBay. So I think I priced it like $49.99, and it sold within a month for like maybe $35. But the interesting thing about a storage unit, and I do think this, like, it's harder when you're niched down. It's better, I think, if you're niched down, to go to a flea market or try to make connections with storage unit buyers that will supply you your goods at a low cost. But I have found a few storage units I bought, if it looks like it's 80-90% clothing, and that can be very, because your cost of goods is so cheap. It's like pennies on the dollar. You can get thousands of pieces of clothing for $100, $200. And plus you have the chance that you might find cash or gold or jewelry in those as well.
Oh yeah, I know when we're at the bins, we're always dumping out all the little purses and the pocketbooks and stuff, and you'll find change every once in a while, and it adds up. But I mean, you said one big one for me was networking. I think networking could go a long way with helping us in the yard sale season. If someone knows, who knows, maybe they got a whole bunch of stuff they want to get rid of. They were just bringing it out just to kind of get started. But if they know you're interested in that stuff, give them your number. Don't be afraid to kind of speak up. And like, at least I'm not. Some people say, "Oh, don't tell everybody what you do," but I think it's kind of important, because they know that you're a serious buyer. You know, so if they know you're serious about it, now there is a two-edged sword. They go, oh, well, he's a serious buyer. I'm gonna make as much as I can off of him. Well, if it ain't worth it, don't buy it. I mean, that's as a buyer and a seller, you should know the difference. But if they're willing to deal with you, sometimes it's worth paying up a small percentage to keep them as a connection to keep moving forward. Maybe they got a contact. Oh, well, so and so, they'll be interested. I'll give them a call. You know, you never know what that next connection will lead to. So I think the networking, or like I know me and Scott, we have people who we run into at the bins, and they remember us, and they go, "Oh, that's the hat guy," or "Oh, he's the sneakerhead that's looking for like the old vintage ragged out sneaker that didn't really get ragged out." You know, like, you know, and they remember you. And I think those networking. I have people who bring me hats. So here, hand over hats. Just now, there's some of the little ladies that they'll fight you at the bins, boy. They will
they can
fight
be
you.
vicious.
You know, like, you know, I feel like they're like little dogs. They'll just bite your ankles and take you out.
Like,
so you gotta be careful at the bins. You know,
and that's funny. Like I'm a big guy. Like I'm 6'4", 250, but some of these little ladies you're talking about, they don't care. They'll just throwing clothes in my face, and I'm looking at them like, what are you doing? Like,
I literally was digging in a bin, and I moved stuff, and someone threw something. It went straight in my face, and I look over, and it was this little old lady. And about that time, I got hit checked by another one, and I'm like, "What is this, war?" Like,
yeah, they're serious. But all right, so let's talk strategy now. I think a good strategy related to that is to be the opposite. When you're going to garage sales, be nice, be friendly. Good morning, how you doing? Make a little bit of small talk. And here's another little technique. If you're sourcing for something and you don't see it out there, you can always ask them, "Hey, by the way, do you have any video games you're selling? Do you have any old electronics, you know, you're in there that maybe you want to get rid of?" Because sometimes people have things inside that, you know, they either forgot to bring out or they weren't sure about. And if you ask them, you know, they can bring out those items that could be very valuable. So I think being friendly is really important.
That's funny that you said that, because at the last garage sale I went to, was like a Friday sale, so I just stopped by real quick, and I asked her, "Oh yeah, do you have video games?" And she's like, "No." And then I go, "Oh, do you have any hats?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I was gonna bring them out, but I didn't bring them out because nobody bought them last time." So she looked for 20 minutes. This poor lady looking for the hats.
And you can find a lot of hats at garage sales.
You
can. I've run into a lot of them.
So here's something you'll find at garage sales a lot, and you sell very well. Is the golf club covers.
Oh man.
You know, you're looking like $8 to maybe $23 on the high end for these things. And people will buy them because these tear easily, they get worn quickly. So if you can find them in good condition, this one has to be in like brand new condition. But these will sell quickly too. So
speaking of that, I was on the Nextdoor app trolling people, and I was going because they have a free section, and somebody was giving away Nike golf clubs and Callaway golf clubs 2 days ago, and I missed it. I was like, so upset myself. But you got to look at the free section too. But yeah, garage sales and asking for golf stuff definitely.
Yeah, so one of the things with that too, if you don't know, kind of help you with that in the free section is an app, the Freebie Alert.
The freebies,
yeah, Freebie Alert. I think that one does a really good chance of doing. It does anything though. It does Facebook. It does Nextdoor, and there's another one. I don't remember what it adds. But I think Craigslist, they disbanded every connection to anything. So like even the yard sale treasure map doesn't work.
So that's the one that upsets me.
Yeah, so but people had got so accustomed to using this app for yard sales that they're still using it. They're in there manually adding it. So don't be afraid that I think it's still $9.99 for the year. But I think $10 is worth it if it gives you 5 or 10 garage sales a weekend. If it shows them up 5 or 10 a weekend, one of them should pay off for that $10 for the year. So think about how many times it'll pay for itself regardless.
And I think, I use Yard Sale Treasure Map. Another good resource is check your Facebook garage sale groups in your area. You'll probably find several where people will post, you know, like garage sales. And that kind of comes into the strategy. Like you don't want to show up and just driving down the street looking for signs. Like what is your strategy? It's the night before a big garage sale day. Like what do y'all do? What is your strategy for getting ready?
Well, I first check Yard Sale Treasure Map. So I will go through and get as many of them pinned as possible, maybe get an idea whether if I'm going around in a big circle for the triangle, I can make a big loop. I kind of know that loop. I go from the east side through north, around west, and come back around. Now, I also then go back in and I say, okay, I know my spots. So now I look up Facebook and say, okay, where's this address? Does it fall along that route? And if it does, I will add it to my list. Now, if it's outside of that list, I may not, but it just depends on how far out it is because you got to be efficient too. You got to get to as many as possible. So,
well, out here in California, I also see signs that are old. So, they keep them up for a week or two. So following those signs are sometimes a rabbit hole that you don't want to go down. But sometimes those are also things that they don't post. We got an older community here, and they don't post it on Facebook or whatever too. So that's tough. So,
but the flip side is those can be great if you find them because no one else knows about them.
Mm-hmm,
like I've ran across those, and you kind of develop like you want to use the technology, the apps, the Facebook groups, but you also want to keep your eyes out to find the ones that aren't on those because, like I said, you run across those that you have less competition because they didn't post them where people can find them.
See, for me, when I go to garage sales, I'll tell you a couple stories. First of all, if I pick up something and say, how much is it? If I pick this up and they said $10, mm-hmm. I don't say, really? I don't get confrontational with them. I just lay it back down and say absolutely nothing and just walk away from it.
Sometimes it's best not to say anything at all because, you don't want to be rude. You don't want to be nothing. Just
right. And then a lot of times they'll turn, well, what are you willing to pay for it? Because, they want to get rid of it most likely, So I was at a garage sale last week and I'm on this kick because I sold a few VHSs for a lot of money. So I start looking through a bin of VHSs, right? And she had, I think I wound up with 13 brand sealed new, and then maybe another 50 left over from that. And as I was going through, I said to her, how much are they? She goes, 50 cents a piece. So I started singling out all the new ones. So then I heard her whisper to her girlfriend, and she goes, I'll tell you what, $3 for everything. Well, I had put $3 already on the table of sealed ones. So I'm like, yeah, I'll just take them all for $3 then. So, kind of working the game with them because, most likely most of them just want to get rid of it.
Right.
And I think, I like that, Mike. There's a bundling technique. So let's say you get a handful of things that you're interested in. You got a feel for the pricing. They've given you some price on few. Like I'll take a big bundle of things up there and I'll be like, well, what can you do for all of these if I take all these off your hand? And most people will give you kind of like what they did with Mike. They will give you a even bigger discount because they just want it gone and you're taking a lot of it. So that's a good technique to use as well.
And then once you find somebody that you can source from on the regular, from me, in my experience, like the electronics guy I'm dealing with now, I visit him once a week at least.
Right.
Because he gets pallets of stuff every week. So right now he's saving every DVD, VCR, video game system that comes in for me only. He puts them aside, doesn't test them or anything. So when I go through there, I stop and say, hey, what'd you get? And he usually has it, like I have a box sitting next to me, right? So this week I paid $100 to him and I got a PS4, which needs to be tested, but even for parts, that's probably my $100 back, right? Then I got an Xbox. I think there's an S1. I think so. Even for parts, it's close to my money back on that one. I got a 360, the PlayStation 2, and then he's like, "Just take them." I have no idea what I'm going to do with them. I haven't even looked at them yet. This is the first time I'm pulling them out of the box. I have 9 or 10 of these things. And I don't know if they work, don't work. I could sell them for parts, I guess. I have no idea.
That's probably what I would do. Just put them as parts. Parts or repair.
Untested.
As is untested, yep.
there's like a whole bunch of different kinds too. Like you got the keypad one that pulls, you know what I'm saying, like this, and I don't know. Seems older stuff, but you never know. Like I said, if I can
Good
dump
stuff.
parts, I'll do it.
Absolutely.
So not this weekend, but next weekend we're gonna have a garage sale. So
And
try to purge. And so we're gonna be on the other side of the table. So I'll report back here in a couple weeks and see what different buyers I got and everything else like that. I know I'll have video games out there, so I know I'll get a bunch of them.
Xbox One X.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Is that the 1 terabyte one?
I have no idea.
Or the 500?
Does it say on it?
Probably
No,
the 1
I don't
terabyte because it's black. Because that's easy 250 right there.
Easy.
No, I can't see the small writing.
And I know, like, so what is your strategy going to be, Scott, for your yard sale? Maybe that's another thing too on that side of the table. What kind of strategy are you turning? Are you turning a turn and burn everything
burn.
$1? Everything
Turn and burn, yeah.
You're looking at
see how it goes. So yeah, it's going to be see how fast all the early birds can get all the good stuff and then coast the rest of the day. So, but I have watched those garage sales where everything's $1, and that's very tempting. Just come in and get it and go. But,
I was just thinking, like, even for games that, let's say, aren't worth your time to list,
right?
Like maybe it's you don't want to take the time to bundle them. Maybe you have 100 video games out.
Mm-hmm.
You make the quick $100 if you know you don't got that in it.
Exactly. That's
And
then every time I go garage selling, I'm like the third or fourth person to ask for video games. So it's
I get that
hard to go for that, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what people show up because we'll definitely put video games in there and a bunch of clothes and stuff like that. So we'll see how it goes, but.
I think that's the other thing too. More detailed of the listing of what they're
more
offering.
Detailed. Yeah, some.
I think that's helped drives your traffic. So same way we're looking. Think about it like that. You're not going to bring people to your
signs and all that stuff. So we did one 2 years ago before the pandemic, and it turned out really good. We made like $500 within a few hours. Actually, I think it was. Oh, Taylor. How long was that before we had the $500 in that garage sale? It was like before noon, right? Yeah, it was pretty quick. So we're going to turn and burn. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm doing kind of the same thing, but not exactly. So since my Walmart fire, which I'm still waiting for my results from, Walmart slowed down for me because all my inventory was in there. So I just got shipments out this week, and hopefully next week things will pick back up. But what I did was I decided that it's time to like Scott, and I want to turn some of my stuff, my older stuff. So last week I ran an ad on Facebook for my Facebook shop and everything, where the ad just says, accepting best offers on all items in our store. That's all it says. And, of course we have the right to turn it down, but if it's reasonable, and then it's been very successful. And most of the time, I have had a few, ridiculous ones, but most of the time, if I have something up for, let's say 95, I would say 2% of the time my offers have been 80 or better, which obviously I'm going to take and run. You know what I'm saying? No fees, nothing. So that's, even though it's going to cost me, by the time it's all said and done, it probably cost me $300 in the ads over the next 3 weeks. But the payback is, tenfold. So I'm willing to pay that. Plus, I look at it like fees anyway, and when push comes to shove.
Not bad.
Did.
All right.
It made me think of something. When Scott was talking about the timing, like you want to get to garage sales early, but there's another good time is at the end of the day when people are shutting down. Like sometimes people are wanting top dollar and they don't get it. Get to the end of the day, they don't want to lug all that stuff in. So you can hit a garage sale towards the end of the day and come across some really good deals too, because at that point, a lot of people really just want to get rid of it and don't want to have to take it back inside. So don't.
Good.
Go ahead,
I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying. I was just summarizing. Just don't feel like it has to be early. Like you can get deals all day long, but you want to start early and go till till whenever.
I think
you
that
need to
also
finish.
varies based off of your niche. Like what Scott was saying was he's been to yard sales where it's been 3 or 4 people ahead of him, and he's early getting video games. So if you're wanting video games or something like that, it's a very hot commodity, then you're going to have to be there first. But now maybe clothes or some of the other things, or even older electronics that are, maybe less desirable that Mike knows a lot about. He doesn't have to show up at 7 o'clock. But video games and little items like that are very popular, they're going to be gone quick. So I think it just depends on your niche too. But yeah, you can definitely find some good deals at the end of the day as well.
Okay, so who's been to a garage sale where they put out a ton of stuff in their front yard Friday and then tarp it Friday night and wake up in the morning again and untarp it?
Yeah.
And everything's got especially here in
Moisture.
Florida, it's got all the dew on it. It could have rained that night. So you go in there and it's like, wow, we got electronics laying here. I don't think that's going to work out so well. Or books that got wet, And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I walk around and, like, I think it was maybe 3 weeks ago, I found a DVD recorder, the VCR DVD recorder there.
Right.
It was the same scenario. Guy had it out overnight. I could feel the dampness in it. I said to him, how much you want for this thing? He goes, I don't know if that works. I said, okay, what do you want for it? So he said $1. So for $1, I can't turn it down. And I brought it home, powered it up. It worked fine. Everything worked on it. I sold it the other day for a couple $100. But I picked up another one at another garage sale that same day, exact same model. That didn't work on the DVD side. So that left. It's actually sitting on my front door today, sold for $95, So that stuff there, when I buy electronics, I'm like, if it works, and if they say no, then I go in very defensive mode because I will not pay up for that at that point. Even if they say, like, a lot of times you get the answer of, well, the last time I used it worked. Well,
right.
What was that? That's
what was that?
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I find that funny when I go to garage sale and everything's all wet. And
yeah, I've actually been to a yard sale where it had a ton of Funko Pops. And the people walked in, they had gotten out early, right? And it had called for like the most minimal chance of rain. And I'm telling you, like, they were like, oh yeah, most of you won't even see it. It had to have been this one cloud over this one house. And they had a bunch of Funko Pops and they had tarped them. Well, when they took the water off, all the moisture had built up early. And on the ground, it just you could see it almost permeating in the air. Like it was just coming up off the ground, finally coming out, and it ruined half of those Funko Pops. Yeah. And I was just so upset. I mean, not even necessarily for me buying them, but for the person who had all that money, who got up early, put it all out there thinking this is going to be a good day, and they tarped it, and it rained. They just tarped it just in case for dew, which is smart, but it pure rained and it ruined everything. So, but one of the actual fun things is with connections. We were talking about earlier, making the right connections. A guy who I've made several Facebook deals with, I'm actually picking up another set with him tomorrow for Funko Pops. And he just messaged me a while ago while we're doing the show and says, hey, would you do 25 on this lot? I said, sure. I just texted him, sure, I'll do that because they look like they're in good condition. And you know what his first thing he said was? He says, okay, I'm not even going to post them for sale then. He came straight to me. Now that's a good connection. He's coming to me without even having to post them. So I thought that was kind of cool. Like that shows you right there the power of being friendly to someone, making the right connections. I paid up for the first lot. I paid up probably a couple dollars more per item, but now he knows I'm a serious buyer and I get them for, half the price I was paying because I'm buying them in more bulk. So it's kind of neat to see that we're talking about that tonight. And then I have someone kind of do exactly what we're talking about, making the right connections. So it's kind of neat.
I'm trying to find a listing I ran across on Marketplace today. The guy has 120,000 Hot Wheels.
Ooh. Now that would be an epic thing.
Now, is he wanting $1 a piece for him? That's,
Well, no, he wants more actually. Let me see if I can find this damn list. I saw it this morning. I should have marked it.
yeah, I tried to get I was telling Alton this 135 hats for $70, but he hasn't mailed it yet, so I'm gonna have to cancel that one. But scouring Facebook and Macari and all these apps is a good way to do it between garage sales.
Absolutely, like absolutely.
Connections is definitely key in the bins and garage sales, because if you give them their number, they'll call you back and all
Right.
that stuff. But most of the time they don't. But once they do, that's pretty cool.
Do y'all guys have any other tips or tricks for yard sales or what's expected to come? Because
Well, I did want to answer Brian's question about what do I do before the night before. Definitely go scouting around, see what's going to be available for the next day. Look to see if they have any pictures on Facebook or wherever. Look to see what's in there. See if I can see anything that I want in there, so I know if I'm going to hit first or last, or if there's a bunch of kids stuff, I'm not really going to rush over there to go get it. So that's my strategy. I look at the pictures. I zoom in. Like there's one sale on starting tomorrow, and I zoomed in and I saw some video game stuff, and I'm like messaging them, and I the only reason I knew that is because he had the tubs. I looked in the tubs to see what it was. I know exactly what that is, and message him. So that's my strategy. A picture can tell 1,000 words, and I go into those pictures and look to see what they have.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like I've done a lot. Well, not I've done several, over a dozen storage units, and it's the same principle. If you're doing an online storage unit, you want to look at every picture. You want to zoom. You're looking at boxes. You're looking for dust. You're looking for clues to make an educated buy. So it's interesting to think that you could also do that with local apps.
So that's my $1,000 tip of the day.
All right,
royalties
here's
and
the
rights
question.
reserved.
So here's the question, because y'all know me. I'm all about efficiency and time and units per hour and all of that, right? What is the most efficient? Like I think about this a lot. What's the most efficient sourcing? Like I was talking about the bins earlier, and I think garage sales can be efficient if there's a lot of them. But how efficient is sourcing on these local groups? Like I've tried, and like I just find myself just looking for hours and hours and trying to meet up with people that don't show up. And for me, I felt like it wasn't efficient where I could spend that time listing more items and making money. Do y'all look at things from an efficiency lens, or what are your thoughts on
I
that?
think you're going to take that one in a balance, right? So, like, I don't want to sit there for 4 hours in a week or 5 hours scouring Facebook or whatever. I mean, if I have an extra 15 minutes when I'm doing whatever else I'm doing, let me check right now, see if anybody posted that's worthwhile today. And at a certain point, there's no point in me looking unless it's one of the guys who messaged me in the group and said, "Hey, do you think this is good?" Like Scott's done that. Like, "Hey, should I do this or not?" And if so, they can meet tomorrow. Like, oh yeah, do it because that's a great deal, whatever it is. Or no, like Scott knows, I'm very brutally honest. I'm like, I wouldn't do that at all. Like,
Right.
like so. I think you have to be very balanced with that answer. Like, you have to say, know your own self. If Brian, you get in a rabbit hole and you go for hours, then no, that's not the best way to source for you. And honestly, I would tell you as the what do you call it, devil's advocate, that if you're able to get that many items consistently from the bins, why even go yard selling? Like that would be because that Saturday when everybody else is out yard selling, would that mean less people at the bins that day? Like you'd either may have less competition. So maybe sacrifice the yard sale day and test the theory of if there's less competition, maybe that's better product that you find. Who knows? So for you, for the volume you do, I would say probably not. But if you enjoy it as an outlet, then that's priceless when you can enjoy something. So there's a balance there.
I think for clothing, I don't think Facebook is the place to be sourcing out of. I think if you're going for electronics or home runs like golf clubs and stuff like that, I think Facebook is a gold mine. I think there's people on there that don't know what they have. California, just like Florida, is a major golfing all over. There's golf courses all over the place, and Texas too, of course. But if you're niching down and you're just doing clothing, I don't know if Facebook is the right place to do that. I think there's other places, as is, thread up boxes or whatever. If you're looking for volume or pallets or of clothes or whatever, would be more efficient time if you were doing that, I would think. But that's just my opinion, my humble.
So the local markets will be more for your sniping home runs.
Right. I would think so, because your time is valuable, like you said, and I don't think Facebook is made for that. And like, if you're looking for something specific, like Tommy Bahamas, they're gonna want more money for them, or they're not gonna.
If you're specifically looking for an item, the odds are the person who has that specific item already knows the value of that item to be listed just in that specific item. So I think that's why, like, if you're looking at volume, now if someone says, "Hey, I got a ton of vintage crap, like I don't know what to do with it," come take a look, and they have a picture. Right. Man, that might be your gold mine right there. Someone who just wants to wash their hands of it because either A, they inherited it, or they just inquired way too much and it was overwhelming and they got out of it. So like you got to kind of float that.
And I think video games is a great source on Facebook Marketplace and groups.
I would think for Brian, estate sales are the best place.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? I mean, you guys know what, 2 weeks ago I went and picked up about, I don't know, a lot. 12 garbage bags full or something.
Right. No, I'm not saying
it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
But it's okay. Brian would have loved it. Me, I got through about 50 pieces of clothing.
Right. He would have been like,
enough torture. I still have stuff over here. I still haven't even listed. I did sell that polo Ralph Lauren shirt though.
Nice.
How much you got for it?
$27.99. It had a couple of stains on the front, so I kind of had to, bring it down a little bit, but whatever.
Flip though.
Yeah, nice flip.
I can't complain. But I would think that, Brian, that's your best resource, is that I could do that every week if I wanted to. I just hate clothing so much.
Are you using like estatesales.org to track those down? Or I've worked with I work right now about 4 or 5 estate sale companies, and if you watch
as a beginner, how would you source? What would be the best way to find estate sales?
Well, yeah, through estatesales.net, right? Yeah. But my goal is to lock up about 10 or 15 of them, where I was showing you guys those auto parts before the show.
Mm-hmm.
That came from the estate sale company I work with. Okay, she calls me and says, "Look, he just wants to sell everything." So leads like that is really good. Now, if you watch my videos, I work with Martha a lot. Okay, so Martha allows me now, if I want, and I won't ever do it again because I feel like I'm wasting the clothes, come in and take them all at the end of the sale, whatever's there, for nothing, because they don't want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? So I would think for Brian, that would be his strongest. Even if you have to go through 100 pieces and get 10, you can do it in a flash. See, I have to comp every single piece I look at, because I have no idea. I showed you one of these. I think it's this one right here. Hold on.
And I think while he's looking for that, what I like, and I've thought about this, is if you go to enough estate sales and you get to know these people, the same concept, that if you make that connection where maybe they contact you on the front end.
Well, that's where I'm at with mine. So that's a bonus. I mean, it's golden, because she doesn't even charge me first day prices. I'm still paying like last day prices. But she knows if she calls, I'm coming. That's the difference. You know what I'm saying? I don't blow her off. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, I can't make it this week. No. You have to keep that relationship steady like that. Otherwise, they're going to say, well, if he's not going to show up, I'm not going to call him, right?
Right.
So like this here, This shirt here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got this at that estate sale for nothing. Well, when I look it up, look that name up, Brian.
What is it? One
Simus.
All right.
There's only like 3 or 4 listed. You find it?
Yep, I'm showing 2 listed, 84, not 84 and $99. Let's look at what's sold.
Well, one of them should be mine.
Yeah, I don't see any sold, but this is just the past 90 days. I would probably look on Terapeak. But the listing price, there's one for $99.99 and one for $84.49.
Yeah, so.
And
that's like a brand new shirt. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna add that. This is the thing. Like I've dabbled in all these things. I've been to a few estate sales. Like for me, currently, what's working the best is the Goodwill outlets, garage sales, flea markets. You can meet a lot of storage unit people, and you could get a lot of volume from flea markets too. But I do think estate sales. I need to put that into my schedule to keep an eye on those, because I have bought, like, I went to one estate sale where they were kind of like auction. I guess it was an auction, but it was an estate sale company that kind of ran an auction on one of those auction sites, and I bought like a whole closet for like $100, and there was several hundred pieces, like Polo, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Bahama, like really good stuff that was probably 20-30x what I paid. So that's a good tip. And I do like the idea of building connections like that. I think that's like advanced reselling, and that's where I want more of what Mike's talking about doing.
Yep. So now this is a slow weekend for us here. I mean, real slow. And I'm sure you've heard of this name before because it's very popular. That's the Villages here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm sure it's a pretty popular name for Florida. And as you can see, and like I said, this is slow. Normally, you can't even see the land. There's so many estate sales. But it's a little pricey over there, though. You're getting into, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 houses, and the estate sales go up according to the area. But it's like super slow this weekend.
Nice. Well, I mean, that sounds like you actually have a outlet with that, even when it's slow, to have potential to make a profit. Here, there's nothing. Like here during the winter, it's cold, it's 0. And I'm just happy to see I saw 3 last weekend, and there's 5 on the map for this weekend so far. So,
Yeah, I think Brian, you should concentrate on that. You'd be surprised how easy that is.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to add that in.
To break that relationship down, but in the long run, it'll be worth it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, even if it was a closeout, it's not like something where it has to take away from his sourcing it at the outlet. If he sources Monday through Thursday at the outlets and has plenty that he needs from that, anytime an estate sale happens, that's just like that gravy on top. That's just like that extra influx that might happen. I mean, they say estate sales will always happen because there's people dying every day. So, I mean, as morbid and uncaring as it sounds, it happens to all of us. So, like,
the downside,
it's got to go somewhere.
The downside of it, you got to take it all. You can't cherry pick. See, it's one or the other. You can't be both ways. Otherwise, they're not going to have any interest in you.
Right.
You're cleaning out half a house sometimes for them of clothing that they would have to deal with. So it's beneficial. It's easier for them.
Nice.
Well, a lot of stuff of that stuff won't sell though because it's bread and butter stuff where Brian could pick that up for cheap.
Right, but if you could walk in and get them, like I have a relationship where I get it for free. But even if you said I'll give you, you look around and say I'll give you $50 for everything. There might be a couple hundred pieces laying there or whatever. At the cost you guys think to yourself, I only need 3 or 4 shirts here, and I'm going to double my money.
Right.
Something like that. So it's up to you.
So, are we going to do sales of the day, or are we going to move it to next week? Because I know Alton has an auction coming up here. So.
Yeah, I got one in like 15 minutes.
Yeah. So, what would you like to do? Would you like to do it next week?
We can run y'all's real quick. We got a few minutes. We can do y'all's. Yeah.
Sweet. I'm going to share my screen.
All right. Well, see, that's the beauty though. Like I have almost everything set up for the auction right here beside me. So, all right, so let's do Scott's. Here we go.
All right, you see this?
Okay.
Yep.
Pick this up at the bin, so you
Totally
see
sold
0.5 ounces, $49. I did take a best offer of 40, but flipped this within a week. So don't be sleeping on these little perfumes and all these little bottles right here. But this was brand new sealed. Took a best offer for 40, but at the bins, this basically cost me nothing, like 50 cents or whatever. So
Yeah, see, we never
Nice.
found anything like that here.
I think that should be your niche.
Of course, I had to ship it standard parcel or whatever it was. So.
And if you're listening on the podcast and you can't see, it's some perfume.
Yeah, Faith Hill sealed, discontinued. I should have put more of that, but I didn't. But still sold within
Gotcha.
Nice.
within a week.
Nice.
50 to
All
40. Right. I like
Yeah.
it.
Tell me when I'm up.
All right, Mike, you are up.
Okay, so this is the Panasonic DVD VCR recorder I was telling you about.
Okay.
So, as is, parts only. DVD player didn't work. Although it was very odd because I could run a cleaning disc through it, and it would show up on the screen. But every time I put a movie in, it's got to be the voltage in the lens. But I didn't feel like messing with it, so I left it alone. That sold last night. I sold it in like an hour for $90. I listed it for $94. He offered $90. I took it.
Nice.
And $14.95 shipping. It was like $17 to ship out. So that's 15 pounds. That little sucker right there.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to show you one more because I'm.
Oh, it's only one sale a week. Sorry.
No. I showed you. Wow. Okay. So this sat in my office for like 3 weeks. Okay. It doesn't even turn on. But if you can find stuff like this, Dual is like an awesome vintage name to find. And it doesn't have a dust cover. Like I said, it doesn't power on. The board is in like almost mint condition. There is one nick. Do I have a picture of it? Well, anyway, so I showed them like the whole inside of it, and I blew it out afterwards because I realized my picture looked like it was a mess inside. But this sold in like an hour for $159 and $35 shipping, and it doesn't even power on.
You
Oh,
can
wow.
go watch his video on this.
Oof. I'm going to have to watch that after I
Yeah.
get done myself tonight.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome.
That's the beauty of
Absolutely.
electronics. They sell so fast. All right, let me share mine.
And while waiting for Brian, I've been watching another guy, a young kid, who just sells electronics and is doing like his 90 days, like 120 grand.
What?
Yeah. And he lists every single one of his electronics for parts only. Doesn't test them, nothing.
I mean,
is
in time-
that showing, Alton?
What's the name
Yeah,
of
there
it?
it is. There it is.
Well, there's a couple things. I'll just touch on a couple, and I'll zoom in on one. Like, I came across. Well, I do clothing, but one of my sourcers reached out to him. He's like, "Hey, I want an auction, a lot of ink cartridges. You know, you want in on some of this?" I'm like, I found out what he had, and he had these Canon toner cartridges, and I think I got them for like $10 or $15 a piece, and I sold these 3 for $129 plus shipping, and I've still got quite a few, but those are good. I also sold some cowboy boots, but since we're talking about garage sales, these were picked up at a garage sale. These two jerseys. I got a vintage Reggie Miller jersey made in the USA, and another vintage Shaq jersey. These two sold for $125 plus shipping, and these were picked up at a garage sale, I think in the fall. I've had these for a while, but I don't know. I think maybe I paid $5 or $10 each, if I remember correctly, and they sold for good money on the vintage champions tag. So jerseys are definitely good if you can
Nice.
find them. And ink cartridges too. And so I just want to show you, I will sell things like if it's a no-brainer. Like I looked at the sell-through rate on those. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'd be stupid not to sell these.
Now I have a funny find of the week. This was funny because mine's mainly going to be finds because by the time you do this, I don't know what's going to be the sale. So we're going to show it to you. I found this in the bins. A licensed Super Mario Luigi hat,
cool.
and it's got the foam pieces all in it. And I just thought it was so neat. So, it's that bright green, iconic piece. So who knows? I might throw that up at the auction tonight and see what happens. Like you never know with it. It's crazy. So
no, that's cool. My sons love that. They dig that. So yeah, that's a really cool piece.
I'm going to make a prediction for next week. I'm going to show a sale of a Brother LaserJet fax machine. I haven't even listed it yet, but I'm going to show
he's
that.
calling it out like
calling it out.
Where,
He's stating it.
it's called
He's
a
like-
shot.
He's calling
pointing.
the shot, right? Yeah, he's pointing it out there.
Just pointing right out into the left field.
Can't wait to find out. I'm sure it'll sell.
All right, fellas. Well, until next Thursday, we will have fun again on the next topic.
Yes, great
All
topic,
right,
guys.
fellas.